then they may not pick a fight with you. Because they know that if they pick a fight with you, they got to pick a fight with your whole family. But when you're like me, an only child, they may decide to pick a fight with you because they're like, there's nobody that is going to back her up when we get to the playground. Right now, he's trying to put us into a situation to where we will be the only ones on the playground when you're going out talking about you're going to go into Canada, when you're going out and you're talking about Mexico. Listen, Zelensky is right. He doesn't have the privilege that we have. We've got water on each side, and we used to have friends on the north and south. He doesn't have that privilege. And so I really want America to wake up, because this should not be partisan. Be the selfish people that we love to be in America.
If you are still as appalled and ashamed of the disgusting display that Donald Trump put on in the Oval Office attacking President Zelensky, then you will want to check out what Jasmine Crockett just said. Because her unapologetic call out of Donald Trump was as perfect as it was therapeutic. And it is what we all need to hear right now, not just at home, but around the world, because her message was to other leaders, letting them know we are as ashamed of America as they probably are as well. And we are going to get into that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. And it really does mean a lot to me. Now let's hear from Jasmine Crockett.
Trump's actions. My next guest is apologizing to the world. Jasmine Crockett is a Democratic congresswoman from Texas and sits on the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. And I'm awfully glad to have you here, because I read what you said, apologizing to the world. And I want to go deeper into it, because you said, I'm sorry that the bright light America used to be is dimming. Why did that whole interaction seem to be so distant for you, for what the U.S. stands for?
Besides the fact that we're talking about an ally, we're talking about Ukraine, a country that was invaded. First, it started off with trying to change the facts. We don't live in a world of alternative facts, trying to change the reality of who invaded who. After we kept saying that Trump was nothing but Putin's puppet, we kept saying that he was palling around with Putin. We've said it all kinds of ways, but this comes at the heels of the UN voting with Russia. This also then is an opportunity for Trump to show that, no, America knows who our friends are, and we're going to stand with those friends. And unfortunately, he decided that he wanted to talk about his clothes. Now, maybe this is because Trump never wanted to go serve his country. And right now, the only service that he's giving to us is driving our country apart. But I'm sorry, when you're at war, you're not worried about your outfit. That is what we call a privilege, number one. Number two, to say, oh, what can you afford? Well, if he was walking around in the fanciest suits, I'm sure that they would accuse him of taking our dollars and spending it on his wardrobe and being more concerned about that. Listen, this is a no-win situation when you're walking in with someone who has decided that he is going to align himself with a dictating thug.
Okay, so to that end, we know before the exchange, what was supposed to happen was there was going to be the signing of this preliminary mineral deal, at least, right? Aiming to end the war, but without Trump committing to any security guarantees. I mean, you say that peace should not have a price tag, but there are some Republicans, as you know, and the president claiming that, oh, you know what, America is being taken advantage of here. Is there a middle ground we can get to?
There's not a middle ground with this president. He has no intentions of doing right by, number one, the United States. I appreciate what the former governor was saying. We are in a national security crisis. We have been in a national security crisis ever since, honestly, before he even ran. We know that he had our national secrets stored at Mar-a-Lago. People felt like that wasn't really a big deal. They wanted to compare it to what was going on with Joe Biden. We know that he was showing this to people that maybe weren't supposed to see our national security secrets. We know that he is consistently engaged in questionable deals as it relates to our emoluments clause when he was in the first go round. Next thing you know, his son-in-law was getting a lot of money from the Saudis as soon as they walked out. And so right now, and not to mention, he has decided that his DOJ will not prosecute cases that engage in any type of foreign nefariousness when it comes to getting money. So unfortunately, we have someone that is occupying the White House. And as far as I'm concerned, he is an enemy to the United States. He swore an oath just like the rest of us. But right now, when you are literally putting us at risk, all because of what? because you want to convince your followers that you should be a dictator too, that you should never leave the White House because you don't believe that elections should take place. I don't really understand what is going on, and I don't know what it's going to take to get people to wake up. We are not living in a safe country when we decide that we are going to weaken our national security by getting rid of those that are watching our nuclear stockpile, by giving everything over to a private friend known as Elon Musk. We are getting rid of all of the inspector generals. And so there's literally a lack of checks and balances all around us. And then we have somebody who's sending his vice president out to offend our allies in Europe. Listen, the way that I used to explain this on the trail when I was campaigning for Madam Vice President is I would say, listen, it's kind of like the schoolyard. When you go to school and everybody knows that your siblings are at the same school, or they know that your cousins are at the same school, then they may not pick a fight with you because they know that if they pick a fight with you, they got to pick a fight with your whole family. But when you're like me, an only child, they may decide to pick a fight with you because they're like, there's nobody that is going to back her up when we get to the playground. Right now, he's trying to put us into a situation to where we will be the only ones on the playground when you're going out talking about you're going to go into Canada, when you're going out and you're talking about Mexico. Listen, Zelensky is right. He doesn't have the privilege that we have. We've got water on each side, and we used to have friends on the north and south. He doesn't have that privilege. And so I really want America to wake up, because this should not be partisan. Be the selfish people that we love to be in America.
Yeah.
Worry about your safety.
You mentioned Elon Musk, which brings me to those federal employees that are receiving that. These are emails again this weekend, demanding, asking, whatever, that they sum up what they did last week. And you're a member of the House DOGE subcommittee. Are you looking into the legality of this? I mean, should federal employees even respond? Have some been fired as they've been threatened to be fired if they don't respond? Do you know?
We get no answers.
No answers.
DOGE is just something for Marjorie Taylor Greene to sit atop and make it seem like she's important. We ain't doing nothing. I mean, it's much like much of what we see in Congress, right? Because we've yet to have anyone that works for DOGE. I don't even have a list of who works for DOGE. We have nothing from them whatsoever. We have no findings from them where they're issuing reports to us and they're saying, hey, these are the things that we really need to root out as you are going through the budget process. We have none of that. We have no information about who exactly is sending these emails, because we know that they told the courts, oh, Elon isn't running DOGE. Then they told us that a woman that was on vacation in Mexico was running DOGE. Like, you talk about transparency. There is literally a lack of transparency. And when we decided that we wanted to subpoena him to come in, him being Elon, you know who didn't even want to debate it? The Republicans. Not only did they shut it down, but they wouldn't allow us to engage in debate because they really don't have an explanation for why we would have an entire subcommittee that is supposed to sit atop this organization or whatever it is, because it's not really an organization. And they don't want to bring in the guy that is the face of it.
Can I ask you, is it also a little bit because they're afraid to go up against Elon Musk and Donald Trump?
Well, I don't know if they're afraid. I just think they're wusses. I mean, you know, I don't really know what it is, but right now, one of the things that the former governor just said, he talked about people basically giving up their rights and giving up their duties. I've said that they've castrated their constitutional duties. You've got Republicans that will only move, or as we used to say, jump whenever Donald Trump says jump or Elon says jump, and it's usually how high, right? Like, that's what they're doing. They are not listening to their constituents. And I want to say thank you so much to each and every one of you that has shown up to those town halls across this country, because that's what it looks like to be engaged in a real democracy. It looks like showing up and making sure those that have been elected because of your votes start to listen to you.
I'll let that be the last word. I love it that you're thanking the American people for doing what they are privileged, have the privilege to do. Absolutely. Jasmine Crockett, privileged to have you here in studio, too. I mean,
it is humiliating, and it is terrifying to have a president in the Oval Office whose views are antithetical to those of our country, who holds opposing values to that of America, who only believes our country is great when he is in charge, and only believes in values when they are his. If you could even say that he has any, the only value he really has is valuing when, dictators bat their eyelashes at him and send him lots of money through whatever corrupt channel he can possibly get it. That is what Donald Trump values, and that is what Jasmine Crockett also called out of MAGA in a clip I want to check out right here.
Instead, we're pushing conspiracy theories, and some of them are killing people. It's the same thing that we have coming out of DOGE. It's the reason that people are dying. It's the reason that farmers are losing their farms, because we continue to peddle conspiracy theories. It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. It is time for us to say, Mr. President, guess what? Russia invaded Ukraine. Can we at least agree on that one? Facts matter. Y'all, this is literally potentially putting us into an international crisis. We may be heading towards the next world war because we have a president that wants to pal around with Putin and wants to do everything to make him feel good, including lying about who invaded who. Mr. Chair, I got a minute left, but I really want to yield to any of my colleagues and ask them if they will say today, very basically, that when it came down to the war in Ukraine, that it was not Ukraine that invaded Russia, it was the other way around. Is there anybody in here that has enough courage to say that Russia invaded Ukraine?
You can have my time.
And this is yet the problem.
There are times when silence is extremely loud, and that was one of them. MAGA doesn't care, or they're too afraid to, which I don't know. Which of those is worse? People who position themselves as leaders, afraid to stand up to speak, to continue to espouse ideas that they had just weeks and months ago about what is true in this war, that Putin is who we should be opposing, not our ally in Ukraine. You feel like that would be easy, but it's not for them. So we got to call it out. We got to be like Jasmine Crockett, and we're going to try to, on this show, every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you're stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.